Hi, Georgia. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
So at least we got that bit done properly anyway on the recording. Do we need to talk about the weather? Save it?
So we're just going to wait a couple of minutes while some people join in. We'll give people a few minutes to join in. So hi to everyone that has joined already, and thank you for joining us today.
Pretty grim out there today. What's it like with you, Georgia?
Very grim. Yeah, it was lashing out this morning. So hopefully throughout the day I might get a little bit better. I see a little hint of blue sky, so I'm hoping that's going to be the case.
I was getting set up for this, so I had to strategically push my kids out the door into the rain. So yeah, hopefully that karma doesn't come back and bite me.
Mm.
Late for like Ron Burgundy style, like throat clearing.
What did you say?
Scotch, Scotch, Scotch.
So just to anyone who's joined in the last couple of minutes, welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Trina. I am the brand marketing executive in Studio 49. I will be handing you shortly over to Chris and Georgia, who will be doing our design trends webinar today. We'll just give people a couple of minutes to join. And just as a reminder that this webinar is being recorded. Okay, great. So I think we can probably begin. So I'll hand you now over to Chris and Georgia from our design team in Studio 49.
Hello. I actually can't see who's here and who's not, so welcome. Thanks for joining us on your Thursday morning. So today we want to talk about UX design trends for 2024. So just quick introductions for anyone who doesn't know me, which is probably a good few people. I'm Chris, and this is Georgia, and together we spearhead the design team at Studio 49. Today, we're going to run through some of the design trends that we think will be popular for 2024. And if that's not exciting enough, we will reveal the Pantone color of the year, which, when I was putting this together, is absolutely brilliant. In fact, it's a little bit of a game quiz. There's no prize, but if you get it right, you can have your own pride at the end of this. The description for this thing is amazing. So when we was like pulling trends together and looking what is a trend, this came up, and the description is: it captures our desire to nurture ourselves and others. It's a velvety, gentle tone whose all-embracing spirit enriches mind, body, and soul. And that's a description for a Pantone color. So at the end, we'll tell you what it is. So I'm not sure if that's giving you any hints, but that's how it's described, which I think is just magic. So, okay, getting into this, design trends. It's always good to stop and reflect where we are. So we try and kind of gather up. What is difficult is to know what is a trend, what's not a trend, when does a trend become a trend, or when does it become the norm? So to try and kind of compare this, it actually felt very similar to becoming a new parent. It's like it's that stage when you think you've got everything figured out, everything will change. So when you get the hang of feeding or nappy changes, nap times, we move on to solid food, potty training, and overnight sleep. It's preschool, naps, and the cycle goes on. And it's very similar for us designers. So trends change, technology continuously changes. And as we get into a rhythm, a new idea or new technology comes along to shake things up. So, although I'm pretty sure no one's going to believe this, I designed my first website at the turn of the century. I know, shock, how is that possible? But yeah. And in putting this together, it actually maybe take a trip down memory lane just to see how things have changed and what was a trend and what's now become the normal, and how things were done before. So just to add some context, when I designed my first, actually disclaimer, I didn't design the Apple website. It's purely just a reference. And the reason I picked that is because Apple has become this beacon of leading edge technology, creative ideas, like using technology properly. So that's the only reason that's there. So when I designed my first website, I had the amazing choice of I could pick from 5 fonts. I was only allowed to use web-safe colors, and whatever design I did had to basically fit into a glorified Excel table, which you kind of see over here. And you can even see like the way that the thing registered today for a free CD-ROM, like cutting edge technology, right? Like where we are is just crazy. So it is interesting. It's what I'm basically saying is our job's really hard, and it changes all the time. So there is kind of a little bit of warning there because trends do come and go, and designing 2 trends is tricky. If you're just starting the process of building out a website from scratch, if there's so much reference out there, if we're using that reference design to, by the time that site is probably built, that trend has probably faded out or disappeared, or we're on to the next trend. So with that in mind, we've tried to cover off a lot of the things that people are talking about this year, things that we use that we think will be very useful in 2024. So I will hand you over to Georgia now to kick it off.
Perfect, thank you. I'll share my screen now. Can you guys see that okay? Chris, you are my voice here. Can you see that all good?
I can see, yeah.
Perfect.
Yep,
Okay.
thanks, Georgia.
Thank you. So like Chris said there, I'm Georgia. I'm one of our designers here at Studio 49. And the first topic I'll be covering today is accessibility. So accessibility is definitely one of the bigger topics for 2024. If you're in any way working in e-commerce, you've probably heard of the EU website accessibility regulations that will start rolling out in the next year or so. At the moment, we're not entirely sure of what exactly these regulations are, but we know they'll need to be in place by summer of 2025. As designers of e-commerce, we always have a design for all approach when we take on projects, which means we always have the user's needs at the forefront of our minds and try to make their journey on each site as easy and as accessible as possible. With these new regulations that will come into effect soon, there are certain design additions you can start looking at to make your site that little bit more accessible. So the first is colour contrast. When we take on a client and start a project, one of the first things we think about are colour palettes and what colours will work well together. This is really important for people with visual impairments, that every piece of text on your site is easy to read, so colour pairing should definitely be considered early on. Not only are colour pairings really important, but also the type of imagery you use can have a really big impact on text legibility, especially the imagery you use on your homepage banners. It's always important to think of the type of imagery or graphics you'll be using in advance, and if there are any design changes you can make, such as adding colour behind your text or adding a subtle grading to the area to ensure every image you upload won't affect legibility. So next is breadcrumbs. So breadcrumbs are a feature we would always include on our site designs, but I often find that they're forgotten on some e-commerce sites out there. You might see them on some pages, but not on others. It's a really simple and effective design feature to have on every page of your site, as it's really important for people within the disability community to be able to have a clear navigational path and lets them know where they are on the site at all times. So alternative text is also extremely important for people with visual impairments. Realistically, every image, whether that be a product or a banner image, should have some sort of alternative text. If your site is on a Shopify platform, there are a couple of apps out there that will auto-generate alternative text for each image you upload. So if you're on a site that has hundreds or thousands of products, this could be a really useful app to install. Font size and consistency across every page is essential. It's something we always check when we're working on a project, that all our fonts and weights are consistent when you move from page to page, especially before it goes into the development phase. It's also always good to check that your body text is around 60 pixels and above, and your headings are around 25 to 30 pixels, but this may differ with the type of font that you're using. Lastly, when you do update your site, it's important to do regular testing to make sure that all the accessibility features or design changes you've implemented are still in place and working as they should. Before I move on from accessibility, I wanted to highlight that there are so many accessibility tools and widgets out there that can be a great way to help make your site more accessible. But I did find this particular tool from the company AudioEye to work very well. So you'll see in the example video here how it works. So they firstly have a breakdown of the page structure. So the landmarks refer to the main areas of the page, such as the footer and banner sections. As well as that, they have all the headings broken down, and each time you click any of the headings, they bring you to that exact location on the page, which is super handy. They then have another couple of great functionalities, such as increasing your cursor size, because they tend to be a little bit on the smaller side. Being able to highlight any of the headers, links, or buttons on the page, or all of the above, you'll see that they turn that kind of bright yellow there on the screen. As well as that, you can choose between a couple of different color contrasts as well to see which one suits your needs. In terms of text, you can also increase the size of the text or decrease the size of the text. You could adjust the spacing of the letters. And then there are around 3 or 4 different fonts you can choose from as well. They also have an option that when you hover over any of the images, that alternative text displays, like I was discussed there a few minutes ago. Again, these are just a few tips on how to make your site a little bit more accessible. There'll probably be a lot more design changes and features needed once we know what the EU regulations will be. So next is immersive visual experiences. So augmented reality has become super popular over the last couple of years. I think during COVID, a lot of businesses were trying to find ways to enhance their online store and try to bring that in-store shopping experience online. And through that, a lot of them turned to augmented reality. So some examples of this are Amazon. So Amazon have this really cool AR experience on their site. So once you allow access to your camera on your phone, it then allows you to see what furniture from their catalogue will actually look like in your space. So you'll see in the example video on the right, a woman is placing a vase on her side table. She then also adds a chair into her room to see what that will look like. You can rotate the items, move them around and see what it looks like in your space. I think this is such a great tool to be able to see bigger pieces of furniture like sofas and bookshelves in your space before committing to buy it. I think there's nothing worse than buying a big purchase, then not liking it and then having to return it. So this takes a lot of that stress away. The likes of IKEA are also starting to incorporate these online experiences on their site, and I think they'll start to become more and more popular over the next few years. So Chupi is another great example of AR. So I was recently shopping on their site and I noticed that they had a small widget in their product gallery that said try on. And when I clicked it, it generated a QR code that I scanned to my phone. And then you can see on the video on the right what the feature looked like. So I took a photo of my hand and it then brought the ring that I was looking at onto the image. So you can scale it down and rotate it to fit the angle of your hand, depending on how you took the photo. You can also change the metal styles and the band styles as well to see the different variations of the ring. There's also an option to add filters to the image to see what it will look like in different lightings as well. If you're not happy with the one you're wearing, you also have the option to search the rest of their catalogue and change the ring. But not only that, you can also stack rings. So in this instance, I brought in a wedding band to see what it would look like against the engagement ring. Again, you can also update the metal of the ring, whether it be gold or silver. Then once you're happy with the way it looks, you can click the button in the top right-hand corner and it highlights all the rings you're currently trying on. So you can click through to the product page, read some more reviews about it before going ahead with the purchase if you're happy. So this was another great example of businesses leaning into augmented reality. There are also other businesses out there like the make brand Charlotte Tilbury as well. You can actually see what different foundation shades, eyeshadow shades look like on you before you actually commit to buying the product. But I think augmented reality will definitely just keep growing and becoming more popular as the years go on. So then we have voice commerce or v-commerce, and this has really taken off in the past couple of years, especially with the rise of smart speakers like Alexa, Google Assistant, and Siri. It's a super convenient way for customers to browse, search, and purchase products by using their voice and their natural language. The likes of Amazon have really leaned into enhancing their shopping experience with their Alexa speaker. So once you allow voice purchasing on your Amazon account, you can start using your speaker to place new orders, reorder past purchases, and ask for product recommendations. Because your Amazon account has your address and billing information stored, it makes processing these orders really simple and easy. When you are browsing products, they also take into consideration your previous purchase and browsing history to handpick personalized products they think you'll love. As well as that, you can also check in and track your orders every step of the way and also build down a shopping list. This is also a great option for people with disabilities to shop. They can add any product to their cart, get product recommendations based on their needs, and send over their shopping list to another device, such as a family member who can then process the order. And then lastly for me is dark mode. So dark mode has definitely become very popular in the last couple of years. I think the likes of our phones and our laptops now auto adjust to a dark mode past a certain time of day to work better in low light settings. It's a lot easier to read, it reduces eye strain, and it's also a lot nicer experience for people within the disability community to be able to toggle between a light and darker mode depending on their needs. Some nice examples of sites using dark mode are both Apple and Jean Doucet. So firstly, I'll go through Apple. So they have they're really leaning into the darker color palette here for this particular product, which is the AirPods Pro. The graphics and imagery they have really bounce well off the darker background, and I really like the use of bright colors making an appearance as you scroll down the page as well to put emphasis on certain areas or words. I think a lot of tech or electrical sites would do really well with the dark mode option. And I also think it would work well for certain landing pages to showcase new brands coming in, or like Apple's example here, highlighting a new product with different close-up images and highlighting the product features. Then we have Jean Doucet, so they're a jewellery brand and they have a really nice balance of both light and dark colours. So you'll see in their navigation here and the mega menu, they've really leaned into that dark mode. And then also on their banner area, they have a darker background as well, which I feel like really makes the rings pop. And in general, as you scroll down the page, they have a really, really lovely balance between using a light and dark colour palette that feels super luxurious and high end. It's definitely a different take on jewelry sites as they tend to lean more towards lighter and warmer colour palettes, which are lovely, but I do feel like the darker colour palette here really ties in well with this brand and it's very distinct. So yeah, I think dark mode and darker colour palettes will definitely start becoming more popular and make their way into e-commerce sites over the next year or so. So that's it for me. I'm now going to pass you over to Chris, who will go through the rest of the slides.
Right. Thanks very much. Just on that, there is quite a lot to take in. So if anybody does have questions and stuff, it might be worth just making a note and we can kind of gather them up at the end. Obviously with trends, it's hard to know which ones to include and which ones not to include. So we're trying to kind of cover as many as we can, but at the end or even after this, if you need to reach out to us to go through in more detail, do so. But I will fly on that. So personalization is absolutely key. It's hard to judge whether this can be classed as a trend, but it has been purely because we've got personalization, but hyper personalization now is becoming the norm. If you think of Amazon set the bar very high for this. To put it into like a real world sort of example, it would be pretty much like if you was going into your local coffee shop where you're a regular. The barista recognizes you. He already knows your favorite drink before you've ordered it. Maybe they know that you always going on Friday lunch and your favorite is brownies, so they can put a special offer on at that time because they know to expect you. And it's creating that kind of warm, fuzzy, safe, I'm special feeling. So just to go into a little bit more of the jargony side of things, so creating individual customer experiences. So we're fortunate in today's age where we have so much access to technology, and with the help of AI and many other technologies, we're diving deep into consumer data to create shopping experiences unique as each customer. So this means handpicked product suggestions and dynamic, tailored just for them. So with that, kind of gone are the days now where a one-size-fits-all approach is no longer sufficient. So assumptions and grouping people isn't good enough anymore. We can't say all of these people are definitely going to like X. With the access to the amount of data and the kind of data that we can kind of use to make more unique journeys now, that's where we need to focus. And if you're not focusing on that, there definitely will be a competitor that is focusing on that. And people are expecting these journeys now. So personalization relates to the way an online store displays dynamic content based on customer data, such as demographics, intent. So maybe they're a first-time buyer, maybe they're a return, maybe they've subscribed, but the shopping preferences, browsing history, previous purchases, and device usage. And with all that information, it allows us to create these more unique, focused, relevant journeys. So for example, if a user logs in, they get that kind of special treatment. It's no more generic homepages. Instead, it's personalized selections based on their browsing history and past purchases. So again, it's all about creating these unique, relevant experiences rather than these kind of generalized things. So as designers, this is amazing. It gives us much more opportunity to kind of focus our design and see design pain points and then create a solution that's relevant rather than catch all kind of generic design. So with that in mind, just a few easy wins here. So areas that can be easily personalized is banner content, blog posts, product recommendations, targeted discounts, product bundles. All these things make the people feel special. So like if we've got bundles where we can know the type of products someone's interested in, we can bundle this together, probably give it an extra discount. And it's that feeling of warmth and special and unique that will get people to kind of buy into the brand and get that loyalty and the conversions. And like I just touched on there, so as a designer, in terms of what we can do with this, if we have more information and more data, we can focus on the customer journeys and experiences that actually encourage people that want to interact with the brand. So if we can showcase the products they want in the way that they want to see them, they're much more likely to become loyal. It means that rather than us kind of going, here's a page and look, this looks nice, we can focus on storytelling, the journeys, and like it gives us much more opportunities to enhance the creative rather than, again, just like a fit-all template that we kind of just push out there. And as a designer, that's like great to have the opportunities. When I look back on originally and I'm trying to fit things into a grid, that change is like amazing. And there's so many more opportunities now for us to kind of push creative or do things unique and create these much more special journeys. And with that, it leads into a much more, definitely this year, we'll see much more careful and empathetic UX. We can already see kind of this happening anyway, where it isn't these catch-all template designs. People are looking at content and these journeys. To do this, like we have all these tools now that can capture data, but also when we're talking about connecting with people, there's other ways. So we always start projects with ideation so we can get a better understanding of not just the design brief, but the brand, the direction, and bring all that together. So it's not just kind of pulling this information. It's like understanding the customer and their feelings towards products rather than just pushing sales or not understanding where the design pain points are. So like even the way that designs and briefs are tackled now, it's much more having this complete understanding of where everyone wants to go with the brand. We have omni-channel now, so there's in-store, there's on-store. Most people have some kind of presence. So unless we are able to get that information and insight, like we can't really give back proper design. So in doing these and taking time just to understand the user, it makes our design opportunities and the solutions much, much better. So a few bits. So ideations would be something that involves open conversations. We avoid predetermined questions, and the goal is insight, discovery, not confirmation. So quite open, very loose, very friendly. And the majority of the time when we're talking to people, whether this is like a brand owner, it's the things that they don't say rather than what they would write down in black and white in a brief, because there's passion there, and that's what we try and turn into these creative solutions. Other ways like observation. Again, this would come down to tools. So you could record interactions with someone using the site to see where the pain points are. And then we can so for example, if there was some kind of area like a mobile navigation where we could see that there is a design point. It might be a case of there's a healthcare brand, they do medical products, and they also do high-end beauty products. Those two journeys are very different. So to see someone interact in that and want these two different journeys on one site is something that we need to see, and then we can tag it as a design solution rather than just putting a page together going, there you go, you can see your products, enjoy your shopping. It's that next level of understanding the user and creating a proper solution for the design that's required. User personas, again, this is something that is key to, if we can understand the habits, the users, what popular products are, category types, it goes back to avoiding those assumptions. And if we know what they're looking for and we can provide designs to showcase this storytelling journey that helps them guide them through the website much more smoothly to find the products and the information when they want to see it, then it's going to be much more successful customer experience. Then there is empathy mapping. So this is a good way of trying to gather this up. So rather than have these definite answers and black and white, there's this, how's the person thinking, feeling? Where are they seeing these things? What are other people saying? And we can kind of build then this empathy map up and lay down foundations for user-centric, engaging, impactful digital experiences. So with that in mind, these are some then that are kind of the trends that will be here in a few years. I don't know. They'll definitely be a part of it. So bento grids seems to be one of these big things this year that everyone's starting to talk and take it on board. I think mainly Apple released a product using this bento grid. So basically a bento grid, for anyone who doesn't know, it's based on the idea of a Japanese lunchbox, which has compartments for all their individual foods. And that's taken now into these kind of really cool grid-like templates that hold lots of multiple bits of information. And there's a lot of people using these in very creative ways. This for me would be where I am a little bit on the fence. As a designer, I would have felt that I would have been doing these grids for multiple years if the content and the brief required them anyway. So I'm not sure if it's just the name of something that we probably have been doing anyway, but they're definitely popular and there is something within it. Like anything though, and like we've previously talked about, a lot of it is still based on the content, the data, the user. My big problem with this is if somebody goes, bento grids are cool, that's what we're going to do, it still needs to be filled out with the correct information. If the correct information, and it's just a case of filling blocks for the sake of it to follow a trend, that's when I think trends become a problem. If a bento grid offers value to the customer experience, absolutely. If not, just because they're popular, it doesn't mean that we should use it. My biggest problem with this is, like even you can see on these examples here, the content hierarchy. Unless we're very careful and we have good content, I can see these being kind of quite noisy and busy. So building them out successfully, yes, I'm all for any ways to make things different and creative solutions. So I'm not sure about this yet, and I haven't really got to grips with getting the best out of it. There's definitely something in it because everyone's talking about this, but I think it's just one of those that I would be on the fence at the minute. I also didn't want to completely make this about AI because obviously it's very current and everyone's talking about it. and it will be here. I think the scary thing for AI is that it's just that the pace that it's picking up, what it can do, what it can't do, should we use it for everything? And for me at the minute, it's very much a great tool that can support a lot of the things we do in terms of image creation, content creation. It certainly helps in terms of saving time on some tasks that would have been much more difficult. What is kind of scary though is just the pace. So if we can look at this chart in February 2022, this was kind of the level where we was at. And by December 2023, we've kind of moved on bigly. So it is going to influence us exactly where I'm not 100% sure on the bigger scale, but it's something that is definitely a supportive tool that's going to be useful. And within that, there's lots of really good AI tools out there. One of them that's maybe not as known about is this one, Magnific AI. And what this does is, rather than when we get a poor image and we try and scale it and it goes all blurry and low res, what this actually does is add detail back into the image as you stretch it. So the reason I include this is I'm pretty sure we've all been chasing product images before, or we've been supplied them, and they're tiny, or we need to change them, and then we go try and chase after someone that will give us another, and it takes up time. This is where I see like AI being very, very useful in terms of correcting like some images. If it's just purely like enhancing or upscaling, there's going to be tools like this that will definitely be very, very useful. Micro interactions are also definitely going to be more popular in 2024, and this will be from like hover effects to animated buttons. It makes navigation more intuitive and engaging, and definitely they'll play a crucial role in enhancing user experiences. So this could be as you're scrolling down the page, maybe, you know, there's quite a lot of content there. There's a section that you just want to make sure people are aware that the site is still giving you feedback. It could be a shine, it could be a button, it could be some way of making something that you want to stand out just more obvious on the page. It could be that you want to lead someone in a particular journey or direction. So now, for anyone who's still off the time of Flash, we had a stage with Flash design where everything moved and jumped and stuff. So all these, it's kind of interesting how things go around in circles. I think these will help as long as they're tasteful. I think as long as everyone doesn't go crazy and we have stuff flying across the screen and stuff. But I think that's why it's important, why it's micro interactions. For anyone there that's designer or developer, so Lottie Files is a plugin for Figma. So you can actually do these animations within Figma. You can export them into the dev mode, and then the devs can actually use the animation that you've created. So it's the same animation for the Figma that you prototyped and the development stage. And that's good, because to do these normally we would have had to go into, like, say, Adobe After Effects, make the animation, and it's just a bit of a smoother transition between design and development. There's a couple of more style ones that probably, again, are going to be dependent on customer usage, but it is interesting that for many, many years, pretty much the consistent would be keep it clean, keep it flat, keep it simple. And it was all about nice and structure. A lot of the things that people are talking about this year is changed. So one of them was like this idea of bubble wrap, and people referenced it as they like the lack of precision, which is kind of interesting when everything has felt quite structured, corporate, and you would have some of this, but in terms of the general average, it would be very opposite to this. So some lovely words. The trends versatility allows it to seamlessly integrate into a variety of themes, from casual and fun to trendy and modern. So again, this one is a great call out. It's lovely that we're getting back to the point where we can express ourselves a little bit more. There's more opportunities to do something a little bit more fun and playful, maybe in sections. Maybe this is the point where we've got to where majority of sites are clean, sharp, and now people want to differentiate again. And the trust in online shopping and the content is good. So how can we differentiate? And maybe this is what we're seeing now. Another one, again, ties straight back is 3D images and gradients. Champion has been flat design for so long that this is actually really exciting as designers, that there is opportunities there to push things a little bit further, to do things that we might not have done before. And with the acceptance of like all these new different styles and ways of bringing colors and elements in, it gives us loads more chances to get more coloring crayons out of the cupboard. So just to kind of start kind of catching up, I think there's like, there's trends that come and go. So I think the lessons to be had is that not every buzzword is a real trend, and not every trend will become a viable solution, but we can identify what has proven to work and bring e-commerce success. So based on this, you can see that the majority of whichever ones we talk about, it's really important that we get to know our customers and personalize the content for a customer, not these kind of generic catch-alls. The other thing when we're talking about it, so offers and content personalization is based on good data. So it doesn't matter how good AI is, even that won't do much without that good data. So making sure we're getting that information, we're pulling in the data and using it correctly is more important. So when we're talking about trends, which ones come and go, so there's 3 here that I feel like have been solid, and definitely if you're going to include anything, these are a good starting point. So personalization, you can see here, has been around since 2017. A lot of that has been more personalized for a segment, whereas now we've got the AI tools and new tools that we can pull in even more data to kind of make those journeys even more unique. Mobile commerce, the way that we are now and the way that we live, we're all on phones. It's just a no-brainer to make sure that we have as many opportunities there for conversions. And the other big one, particularly from a design point of view, is this omni-channel experience. And one of the big changes just in general for kind of design would have been like design into brand would have always been number one. It would have been like, make sure we're designing this homepage, it looks on brand, but like that is now tucked within customer experience. It's still important, but these omni-channel experiences are absolutely critical. And if I go into a store and I have a bad experience, that is going to reflect on the website. So it's not just that they now need to be on brand and look like each other. The experience that we're giving in store needs to match online, and that is both. We've got social media. The majority of time we're going to be probably pushing someone from, say, social media onto a specific landing page. People probably won't even land on the homepage now. So that experience when they land needs to be correct. It needs to be the right information at the right time. So omnichannel is definitely something to focus on. And just to wrap up, so customer experience is definitely king. It doesn't matter what trends there. It doesn't matter like what new things are. So with that in mind, there are lots of trends and new technologies and opportunities, but just because we can do something doesn't always mean that we should. The thing as designers now, we have access to this information. So we need to understand the brand ambitions, personas, pain points, and then we could use that information and data to help inspire every touch point or interaction with the brand across all the channels, and then build brand consistency. So one thing I always look back on is, so early in my career, I was always told not to polish a turd. So, and just to explain that, what that means is that if we're doing something or coming up with an idea, yeah, we can make it shiny, but at the end of the day, if it's bad, it's still just a shiny turd, and we don't want shiny turds. So if it doesn't add value to the customer, then it's probably not worth investing in. So it is sometimes difficult to see these cool things with technology and trends, but it still goes back to customer experience and the value to them. And I'm sure everyone's been waiting for it. Drum roll. So Pantone color of the year, anyone get it? It was Peach Fuzz, which again, when we're trying to knot these together, one, I just couldn't believe like that amazing description of a color. But even in doing these trends, so this is Pantone color of the year. Yeah, when we was doing our research, we're talking about 3D shapes and gradient colors and stuff. So trends are quite difficult to manage. And again, colors are going to come down to brand and everything. But there you go. So that's it for me. Hopefully that was useful. Thanks for your time. if there is any questions, I know we tried to cover a lot there, and it's difficult when there isn't constant feedback and interaction. So if you do have any questions, definitely reach out. If the stuff that's probably you wanted to go in more depth, and then again, get in touch and be more than happy to do it. But thank you very much for your time. Any questions?
Great, thank you, Chris and Georgia. So I've given everyone the ability to unmute, so you can either just ask a question by just chatting, or if you want to ask it in the chat itself.
Okay, at least it wasn't a barrage of what you're talking about.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks. Thank you.
Bye.